Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin, Thursday, March 26, 2015. Out walking the big guy as usual, and today I thought I'd just think out loud about the promotion and aggressive feature expansion and documentation phase of Pipulate that we are entering. So I think a lot about superior applications and programs that exist all the time. You know, nothing new is under the sun, and everything keeps getting reinvented and reinvented. And why isn't all this good stuff found and used and incorporated into people's day-to-day procedures? Well, it's a combination of two things. First, just the failure to get in front of people. Just a fundamental lack of, exposure and, the ability to get into the path of where people are everywhere, where people are every day anyway. So certain tools become popular because they manage to slide themselves into your daily routine. And Google Docs is one of those tools because it was similar enough to Microsoft Office that people could relatively easily make the switch. Now, it brings up the interesting fact that Google Docs was slower and feature poor. It could do much less, and what it did less, it did much slower than Microsoft Office. Yet why is Google Docs being embraced more and more every day? Well, everyone goes to Google every day, and Google could slip this promotional link in front of people, the unified Google navigation links. Everyone knew Google Docs existed. It was easy enough to give a try. And then they added killer features. Collaboration is high amongst them. So what good is data if it's tied up in an island, if it's locked up somewhere where only you can get to it? And your data is at risk of being lost if that machine crashes and you have 100 different variations of the file every time you save as or email it. And Google Docs solved a whole bunch of these problems and added the killer features on top of it. Yet it was still slow. Now, it's relentlessly being pushed forward both through the development of Docs itself and through the web browser platform, which Google itself controls. So, speed is not an issue. Long-term getting it used and superiority of features is the issue, and continuing to surprise and delight your audience as Google Docs rolls out this new feature or that, sometimes staying in lockstep with how Microsoft Office does it for convention and easy adoption. And sometimes they do things radically different because the web is just so conducive to different approaches that it's worth breaking the traditional Microsoft Office software suite model to get something working a little bit better in the Google version. So that is the first part of getting stuff adopted and used, even if it happens to be slower on first rendition. The second part of getting things used is to build a critical mass of user base, to get the people using it, talking to each other, collaborating, sharing hints and tips, and basically a pretty steady communication stream between the developers and the community to create the snowball effect, where something might start out small, but over time it gets bigger, has more eyeballs on it, has good contributions made. And this happens increasingly in the free and open source software community. It happens a lot in the proprietary software community, because if you happen to start to get adoption and people are paying money to use your product, there's a lot of pressure on you to fix bugs and add highly requested features. And as your user base grows and the people paying you money for this grows, and your desire to have a regular paid upgrade cycle increases, the pressure increases. And that's where you have things that are so highly developed over the years, like the Adobe Creative Suite, that it just is so packed with every feature that everyone could ever imagine. It becomes a burden to, you know, to learn to zero in on those core original things that were important. The free and open source software community doesn't quite have that luxury of large development staffs. They have to rely on volunteer well, they have large development staffs, they're just not paid. So you have to motivate people to participate. And of course, they have to be good enough to do it. So the people managing the project at the top with the administrative, you know, controls over the project need to be selective about, you know, who they allow to commit changes to the main branch. And nonetheless, you get some highly developed software. Certain special things started out in the proprietary world and then switched over to the free and open source world and get the best of both. That would be like Blender, the 3D modeling, video game making, video editing software, which is probably the top item on my hit list of free and open source software to start to master for storytelling, for making videos like this that aren't just me walking and talking. And so the next phase of Pipulate development, I'm gonna have to do less of these walking and talking videos and more of rolling out feature after feature after feature, all the things that people have been asking for, and embrace the community as they start to pop their heads up. And already with just the little bit of work I've done, I've got the alpha testers. I guess I want to call them beta testers. I'll get to beta real soon. I've got them rolling in. Every time you just go to pipulate.com, grab the bookmarklet, try using it, you are joining the beta test program. You're being added to my list, and I will add you to a Google Plus circle and start reaching out to you, letting you know when new features are added, when new documentation is available, and start collaborating with you guys and girls a lot more there. I toyed a little bit with the idea of a newsletter, but I just really don't want to manage and maintain a newsletter. I looked at MailChimp. They let you do up to 2,000 free, you know, but I'm drinking the Google Kool-Aid, so I figure in for a penny, in for a pound, right? But even within the Google ecosystem, there's so many ways to do this. You know, there's Google Groups and stuff, the heir to Usenet, but I don't want just the geek community. I want tire kickers from across the whole spectrum. And I guess I plan on using Google's trick of stepping in front of you where you are anyway and triggering off those little bell number notifications that Google is using, the notification, you know, red badge thing, you know, the trend that Apple started with the iPhone and everyone has embraced. Google people, whenever they're targeted with a message on Google Plus, get a little notification there. And it's a little bit intrusive, but I'll try and keep the volume level low, and it seems to be the perfectly natural thing now that you know, momentum is starting to be built on this thing. So I'll also make a normal Word style Google Doc to supplement the PowerPoint style Google slide I had created to just do more traditional documentation. This function does this, that function does that, here's the process, here's the flow chart. And those are my next steps. If you haven't jumped on the bandwagon yet, now's a good time. Pipulate.com, grab the bookmarklet, go to a Google Doc, click bookmarklet, watch it do its magic, and I will reach out to you. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.